Alright, what we got today is a Toshiba Satellite A505. Has the same problem as so many laptops. The little power connector on the side here is busted loose inside and it's just flopping around when you try and plug it in. So I bought a new power connector off the eBay. That was about $6. This thing belongs to a friend of mine. I'm going to crack it open, replace that thing for, and put it back together. See how long it takes. It is right now 12:30 in the afternoon. Shouldn't take long. Okay, I took all the screws out of the perimeter. There were 13 screws around the perimeter and on the interior here. And I took the two doors off, covering the hard drive and covering the memory, took the battery out. I took this apart once before and I remembered there was a screw down in here. You take that screw loose, the hard drive will slip right out. Okay, that's out. There are also two screws underneath the battery. One right here and one right here. All these screws. I saw a guy who was much smarter than I. He had one of them things that the old people put their vitamins in, that he kept all these different size screws in. I don't have that here at work. I just grabbed 6 plastic cups so I can keep the sets of screws separate. Whatever works better for you, but don't commingle these screws because they are all just slightly different size. One of the screws that you took out up here when you were taking all the other ones out will have let this DVD drive come loose. So just put your finger on the end of it and it'll slide right out. Because underneath that are 3 screws as well, and these are very small head screws. I had to get a jeweler's screwdriver out to get at these 3, but 1, 2, 3 screws there. Okay, now to the top. So just like every laptop, it has this little beauty strip right at the top of the keyboard that basically covers the screws that hold the keyboard in. I just put a flat screwdriver in there and pried that loose, and then this will pop out of there. What we'll find underneath there is 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that hold the keyboard in, and there are other screws that hold the laptop together underneath this keyboard. So we're going to have to take that out, then we'll get at those last screws. Keyboard slides out pretty much the way they always do. The keyboard ribbon connector, slide that black connector forward on both sides, and then the ribbon connector will just slide right out of there. And the keyboard comes out. And then there are some, I forget where they are, but there were some screws down in here that you need to take out. I'll figure out where those were and show you. Yes, there were. One here and one here. Cleverly both marked F6 so you knew where they were. Alright, there's a little bit of trial and error. There were 2 screws, one here, on the back side of where the battery plugged in. I had to fold this thing back up and take those screws out or that top cover won't come off. Okay, and then with those 2 screws out, there was one last screw that was giving me a problem. I'm going to show you where that was because I brought this out into a better light because it's kind of hard to find. But it's right down inside this area where the hard drive went in. Right down in there is one last screw holding that top plate on where the keyboard was sitting. I'll take that out and the whole thing will come off. And that's what did it. Took that last screw out. Now the top plate comes completely loose. I'm just going to rotate it a little bit out of my way so I can get at the part I want because there are other ribbon connectors connected on here. But here's what I'm trying to get at. The power connector on the outside. Here's my misbehaving part right here. And there's its new replacement. Connected over here onto the motherboard. I'm just going to route this, just take this old one out, put the new one back in, put the thing back together. Alright, in the end it turned out to be 17 screws altogether that held this, the bottom plate on. But of all those 17 screws, they are all the exact same size, except for this one right here at the corner of the battery, or I'm sorry, at the corner of the door that has the memory underneath it, because that's the screw that actually holds this CD, DVD drive in place when you put it in. So that's a much smaller, it's shorter and a smaller screw. So just make sure of the others, that all the other ones are the exact same size, but that one's got to go in that particular hole. Okay. And there you go. You get a laptop with a nice power connector that works right. You can see exactly what happens to these things, and they all sort of fail in the exact same way. On one side or another of these connectors, the side will break off. This one, it happened to be this outside piece that broke off, and it just lets it flop around inside the laptop, so the thing looks like it's loose, because it is loose. They're just made of plastic. These plastic pieces break. The part though is pretty cheap though. So I mean, like I said, it was $6, and it is now $150. So in counting interruptions, it took less than an hour and a half to do this. So if you know a nerd who's handy with a couple of screwdrivers, have them do this for you.